My name's Olivia Hassan. I am running for VP Finance, and I'm on the Bold slate. Well, first off, I want to thank you all for giving me the time for this interview. I really appreciate it. Um, Second of all, I just want to start by saying that I see Student Union as a resource for students on campus. I think we need to think of more ways to say yes, more innovative solutions, more ways to connect students with administrators and funding, and just flat out resources. The ways that I would personally like to do this begin by being a friendly face on campus, by going out to students, by seeing what their needs are. I'm a very talkative person. I have no problem just making conversation with strangers, as you guys just saw. And I'd be very happy to go out and talk to students and be a friendly face on campus. Second of all, a big issue that people have talked a lot about is overprogramming. I don't think that Student Union needs to be making decisions for students as far as what programs go on. I don't think that's our job at all. I think what we need to do instead is be a better resource, give them the knowledge to make better decisions. Whether that's color-coding the link with potential events in the future so that when groups are planning their social calendars, they can say, oh, this is an event on this day, but it's a different sort of audience, so we'll put that on this day too, and groups can contact each other and talk about it. Or even just making Treasury a more consistent body, forming more of an institutional memory so that we can look back at events that have happened in the past, see did they go well, what were the problems, how are we going to solve them, so that better decisions can be made overall.
How do you envision your role and relationship with Treasury and their decision-making process?
Okay, that's great. Well, right now I think that Treasury's kind of had a bad rap going on. I think VP Finance isn't necessarily there to tell Treasury what to do, but I think that there are things that I could do and would do to make them a better body as a whole. Like I said, forming more of an institutional memory. Tricia and I have talked about this and the problem of overprogramming, and thought, how can we make Treasury be more consistent, make better decisions? We thought if we had some sort of follow-up questionnaire required for student groups after an event, how did it go? What was a success? What wasn't? Treasury can look back at this and have some sort of basis to make their decisions so that they're more consistent in the future. As well, just keeping in mind that there's the internal rules that we must follow versus the external face that we present to the student body. I think we need to think more about saying yes, keeping in mind that the students that have come before us are passionate about this event, are really excited. How can we make it possible for them to have it? I think sometimes Treasury gets caught up in the tiny details. And it's important to be careful, but it's also important not to be offensive and not to be nitpicky. I think just working with the Speaker of the Treasury to move Treasury philosophy more in that direction, having more discussions like that, making more consistent funding policies at the start of the semester. I think those are the sorts of things that I would try and do.
Apathy among the students is sort of a common bugbear of SU. Without getting into too many specifics, you seem to be pretty committed to sort of opening yourself up to the untapped potential of student groups. Do you think ideas that complaints lodged against SU as a unit as it conducts itself are valid, or is it just that you guys you perceive you don't do a good enough job allowing the sort of enthusiasm to flow through you?
I think the main problem is a question of collaboration. I think that sometimes Student Union doesn't always listen to students as well as it could. When students come to Treasury, not all groups are the same. They don't, even if we're talking about K-War again, they come in asking for money for K-War week, and they don't necessarily know the amount they need or the performers that they're appealing for. Treasury has a hard time dealing with that because it doesn't fit in their frame of reference. But that's not really, the frame of reference isn't the most important thing. We need to work on ways to see where each individual student group is coming from and work as a more collaborative effort. So I would say that the complaints against Student Union have some foundation, and I would do my best to go out and to talk to more student groups, talk to more individual students, and see what we can do better to serve them.
With this current budget, if you come in as the Vice President of Finance, are you planning any specific major reallocations or major changes to the budget?
I am not entirely sure what the budget will look like. I haven't met with every single group that I need to in order to propose a general budget. I can tell you that I would like to create a balance between large events that bring the campus together, that foster tradition, while still maintaining the allocation boards. So we have all the different student groups with their individual passions, recognizing that not every student loves wild and big events like that. That's my frame of reference. That said, I do want to go to all these different individual groups asking for line items in the budget and see what their needs are this year. Have they changed from last year? Their leadership often is different. Their goals are different. So I can give you that basic plan, but as a whole, I would have to talk to more students to say what the differences would be.
How do you plan on getting the funding for these major events that are supposed to bring the campus together?
First off, the budget itself is going to increase because the tuition increased. So we already have about, I believe, $85,000 more than we had last year. Second of all, I think that we just need to not necessarily rely on precedent and actually just look at the realities of things. Right now in the budget, there's $12,000 allocated for telephones in the student union offices. Yes, the business managers need telephones, but all of the executives, they don't need a telephone at their desk. No one uses those phones. They use their cell phones. Let's realize this, take the money from that, and put it towards something else. I think it's just not relying on the things that have been done in the past and actually seeing what's right in front of us and making the best decisions for that.